Hello, hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome. I'm here with my partner, Nana Tink Treasures, better known as Trish, as her real name. I'm Louie, and I'm the Lone Star Picker. Sorry, we're a couple minutes late here. We're just getting things worked out in technology. And thank you for coming today. Today is our first part of this little mini series. And let's tell them what it's about, Nana.
Yeah, let's see if we can get this going on this great ephemera that we have. We're going to get a little touch of it today. We're not going to get in deep to it, but we're going to show a little bit. Say hi to Richard. Hello, Richard. First one in the chat. Yay.
Thank you.
And Arthur Olden. Not familiar with you, but welcome, welcome. Harry's in the house. Harry Humstone. Hey, 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 Harry. How's it going? I'm glad everybody's here.
Harry had a live earlier today. He's been busy.
Yeah, Harry usually has lives on Sundays. I get in when I can. Sometimes I don't have a chance. I didn't have a chance today. Been listing on eBay like a nut with all those plates I got. So Harry understands, but I get in there when I can.
Most definitely.
Good to see you. There's Deb.
There we go. We got Deb here.
Hey, Debs. How Jens doing?
Let me see here. Just did I lose my ability to highlight things that look like for a moment? Oh, let me see. And Deb, I'm going to give you a wrench here. We're going to add you as a moderator if you see any unlikely trolls. All right. What happened? Just a second ago, I was able to highlight some names, and I got that little window like you said there.
Uh-huh.
Bizarre.
Are you to the right?
Sorry, you know what I did? I'm looking at StreamYard and I'm looking at YouTube. This is getting confused with the extra box there. Sorry about that. Hi, Deb. How you doing?
There you go.
Harry's like, oh, thank you, Harry. We appreciate you guys being here. Let's hope that, not everybody, we can't anticipate on a Sunday. Everybody does different things on Sundays. Probably a lot of people watching football or getting ready to. We have, guess who's here? Just me, Kathy.
There's Kathy, Simply Dana, too. Hello, ladies.
If any of you who don't have a wrench, just type and we'll catch up with you. But it looks like everybody in the chat except for Deb. Well, let me see. Did I put Deb? Oh, she got a wrench. Good. Okay.
And there's Turtle Trader. Hello.
Turtle Trader. Hello. Welcome. Can you remind us what your first name is, Turtle Trader?
You know what? I have a cheat list and I lost it of everybody's name. And
this is not a good time for us to remember.
I can't remember everybody's name. I do a cheat sheet and I lost it. I think I threw it away accidentally. I'll have to start doing it again. I'll get Victoria. She'll get me hooked up with all her names.
Let's do this. I know there's just a few of us in the chat, and we're probably going to do this twice. Everybody in the chat, if you've heard about ephemera, collect it, or know something about it, put a 1 in there. If you're not that familiar with ephemera, put a 2 in the chat. And, what you're
We'll go from there, yeah.
Yeah, let's go from there. And we're just going to do that because we're just thankful you guys came in. And Trish and I just really had, it started, a few weeks ago. But Trish, how have you and I, we slowly became acquainted this year because I'm pretty new to the community.
Yeah.
You're one that's been here for a little longer than most here. And that's awesome. So, okay, so we got ones are the ones that are familiar. Alton is familiar. Dana is familiar. Kathy and Debs
and Harry.
We have experts. We have subject experts in the house. So correct us if you hear anything that you may differ with. But today we're just going to go over some examples and talk about it. And then probably by next week, this is going to be, keep this in mind, you guys. If you want to continue this with us, we're going to do this for 4 weeks in October, right, Trish?
Yep. 4 weeks. We're going to try it out, see how it goes, guys. And I might stick with them. I don't know. We'll see.
But it's going to get a little thicker every time. And what we're going to do is we're just going to pour some syrup on this cereal and just a little sweet and honey and talk about it from different angles. Hopefully, we're going to show you examples you've never seen. And just as resellers, it's good for us to share this because take it as information. And that's really what we're here. Part of this thing is just what can we share with the community? What can we talk about a dialogue that we don't always see it a lot? There was a couple guys out there. I think his name is something Professor, and he actually talks a little bit about it. I'm hoping that what we're trying to do is maybe get a guest towards the last part, which is we have 4 parts in this mini series. So it's the next 4 Sundays, all in October.
Yeah, every Sunday, same time in October. Harry says he's got to go pick up chicken wings. He'll be back.
Bring us some. Bring us some chicken wings.
Absolutely, I'll take some.
Winner chicken dinner.
Yeah. We have Russell Sandridge in the house. That's somebody new. Welcome. Hello.
I think I saw Russell last night. Weren't you at the live last night, Russell? I think so.
New to me. Yep.
Yeah, there's some new names, and maybe that's just the wonderful thing about doing this, Trish. Is I'm kind of excited, and I thank you for taking part in this, because I want this to be not just a talk and a regular kind of discussion. I want it to be a dialogue that is going to continue beyond our 4 weeks.
Beyond this, that's right. And I thank you, Louie, for asking me to be part of this. I'm honored. I feel special that you came to me. He confronted me and asked me, guys, and I said yes. Immediately. Absolutely. I would love to do it. I love ephemera. As you all know, I've given so much away. I have as much still left that I've given away, if y'all can believe that. Yeah,
I have not opened mine completely. Nana gave this away. Tell them about the event that you did, Trish, that you gave these away on a special event that you did with, was it Victoria?
The game, the clue game that I played. Is that what you're talking about?
Mm-hmm. She gave
I did it. Because I was given so much ephemera. I've been doing that for a couple months. That would be one of the options if they wanted to take that. Like Victoria and I, every Thursday night, we do a game show. We have a guest on and interview the guest, and then they have to answer questions right. And then that was one of the prizes they could win. And a lot of people picked ephemera, but it wasn't going out the door fast enough. So which I don't know if you're talking about that, I decided to have clue game night. And that's when everybody came on clue game. And I think we played 4 games of clue, and they won ephemera. And then at the end of that night, I said, okay, every single person in the chat, send me your address, because every single person in the chat, I'm sending ephemera to. And Brad was there.
You did. It was like, I got this package of just a lot of goodies. And I thought, wow, I know, Trish, you probably sent this to more than one person. Postage is not cheap. Speaking of ephemera, postage can fall in that category. We'll talk about that a little bit more. But the stuff that you sent was from your heart. And I just want to say I was grateful. And I thought, how ironic that you had ran into this wonderful estate sale. And I heard you had a bit of a dilemma where it turns out that the place and the environment you were at, which we'll talk about in a later episode, the conditioning, which kind of had you a setback. You had something about like there's mold in the environment. Is that right?
Well, that was the house, that clean out that I just did. Actually, all this ephemera I got was from a different clean out.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah. But it was bad there too, because she was a teacher, and she taught for years and years and years. So up in her attic is where she stored everything. And she had wooden boxes on top of file. And plus she had filing cabinets. They were all full of everything, and she saved everything of all her teaching years. So in that, I was going through, and the way she got a lot of her stuff was she wrote to different countries, all the countries you can think of, all the states, everything she wrote, and she asked for information that she could use for teaching in her classroom. And whatever they sent her,
information,
all that information, and she kept it all. She kept everything.
So there's kind of this enriching, like, different angle of, let's say, both from the reseller side, which connects to, and it's very parallel to the collector side of that on the topic of ephemera. And so here you have a lady who actually was doing it for educational purposes. She wasn't she wasn't necessarily intentionally collecting stuff. She was collecting information, which so happened to be, which is the best way. What is the best way you see ephemera which is the best way we send information? It tends to be something that's what,
Well, you mean as far as what she collected, or?
Yeah, I mean, like it turns out it's more often than not it's of ephemera nature, because it's on paper, it's on posters or whatever,
Whatever, and that's exactly what she did. And like you said, she collected it all. It didn't matter. It didn't have to be just newspaper. She had a lot of different teaching tools and different items that she used. And I think she didn't keep it as in the thought process of because it's going to be ephemera or whatever. She just, I think, kept it to teach for the next year and the next year and the next year. And then after she was retired and it was all stored away, she just forgot about it and left it.
Interesting. Well, that's something, a thought process I'd like to go on. Maybe we can go on that trajectory later on as part of this dialogue, as we conversate here, is that, people collect things for different reasons.
Yes.
In her case, it was maybe for her job, but it was also like she knew that this was valuable information because as a teacher, she needed examples to share. So there's kind of, don't you see the irony here, Trish? Is that everything that you save isn't intentionally made for in production. Let's, in the true sense of the word ephemera, is let's go to the root of it. Let me see. I had an example, but if in a nutshell, you give me your definition and I'll give you my definition.
As far as ephemera, in my, just real quick, right off the top, basically something that was meant to be used in a day or a week or whatever, and then thrown in the garbage. It wasn't to be saved or treasured in any way, any form, just something that you would use every day and then throw it away. But then for some reason, some people didn't throw it away, and guess what? We got a lot of it today.
Examples here. If this is from that lady that had a lot of stuff, I see stuff that is, informational packets. They're little tiny catalogs that have lots and lots of information. I mean, I'm making noise as I do this, and I'm looking at it, and some of it's just instructional stuff. So like, if you're a student and you're talking about that topic on trucks or something, that wasn't meant to last for a long time. It's like, here, give it to my coworkers. Look at this. It's part of your training. And what do they usually do with it? It's like a kid with homework. Once that class is over, they
pitch it. Yeah, goes in the garbage.
I think all the way to our governments. Like, imagine like the plethora of paper that is printed every day and day out for documents, for legal, repercussions and just cataloging and whatnot. And then at one point, you don't need it. And this is really important, I think, for us to talk about. I want to give my definition and little perspective on why I think ephemera is something that, and hopefully those who are watching this, thank you for watching. And this is what I think we're going to try to touch on, because Trish and I have talked about this. So what I'm saying is nothing she's not unfamiliar with. And I think she's really a good subject expert. There's a lot of you that have this information. It is having that there is like, beyond its definition, that, like we were talking about the irony of like why people collect something versus just letting it go. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have any importance, but there's like a reflective history there that brings what they say is a common word, like you'll hear when you're watching Antiques Roadshow. Do you have the provenance on that? You may have an inanimate object that's wood or metal, but do you have all the paperwork that comes with it, the stickers, the catalog tickets? Do you have letters of information that goes, back and forth, whether it's a postcard or a letter from the artist or a stamped document? So we can go on all day. I'm just, so I think
I want to bring up a point about when you were talking about learning and manuals and different things. And on a reseller point, I know that people in the reselling community, if you don't know, you should know that, example, car manuals, highly sought after. And if you find old ones, they sell very good on eBay. So that's a good manual right there. And that's ephemera, plain and simple.
So you brought me back to my thing. So what she said was not just car manuals from yesteryear, which are money. Like if you can find old Chevrolet or whatever that is, Mopar, whatever the company is, people restore cars. People want that identity. And that's what it really kind of comes down to. If you watch patterns that go on in the reseller community, it usually has to do with trends. One of the main trends that is out there is pop culture of cars, pop culture of fashion, pop culture of all kinds of trends of the consumer, and
it just depends on what somebody's collecting. I mean, there's going to be, I know that like, say for Ford or just even narrow down more Mustangs. Let's just say somebody loves Mustangs. They're going to be maybe restoring, like you said, a 64 Mustang, and they're not going to be able to find all the information online or to Google it. I mean, Google's big in that, but if you found any type of manual like that, Oh yeah, you better buy that and resell it.
So, like you were saying a little while ago, and then you brought up Google. I keep running off of my tangent because I'm excited about talking about this topic and it's great. But ephemera, that being said, we know it derives from, I think, the Latin derivative of the word ephemeral, which means
ephemeral. That's right. Yes.
It's like in a permanence. Like music is ephemeral. Like you hear it 1 minute, you're in the present moment, it's there, but it's drifted away. Paper tends to do that. The acidity in it doesn't last long unless, there's different factors about it. Like Trish was saying, a company will make a piece of catalog and it's really just meant to be for that year. It's just
for that year or whatever.
Sales and marketing or whatever it was that they're doing. But with Google, and so by saying Google, in this age of technology, we are loaded with information. How do we deliver that information? It's so much different from the last 100 years. We don't use paper as much anymore. We're also in a state of like emergency. A lot of people have this concept of like, let's protect Mother Earth. Let's not chop down trees and this and that. So everything's digitized. And the irony is like we're even making digital copies of old ephemera. And people want that.
That's right. Which I think in a way makes ephemera even more important and more valuable. So I want to say hi to Chris in the chat.
Goes away. Go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
Cajun Reseller in chat. And Russell had asked for my YouTube name. And I appreciate you doing that, Chris, that you dropped that link for me. Thank you very much, buddy. And I'm guessing you are safely back at home. I know he came here to Pittsburgh for the reseller thing over the weekend, and he was there. And I was
right. I think his name is Chris.
Okay, yeah, that's Chris. And I really wished I would have gone there to meet you, buddy, but I couldn't go. But thank you for dropping my channel. I appreciate that. And thanks for the sub, Russell. I appreciate all the help I can get. So
if you guys have any questions, go ahead and drop them in right now. I know Trish and I are kind of on the ramble stage, but we're just trying to slowly feel into what we're talking about so that if anybody really is seriously interested in this, and it is a topic that granted, maybe not everybody's interested in. Maybe people don't know that they're like, oh, I do have familiarity with this, and actually, I kind of have an interest in it. You just may have a different stream of it. If you're like we were just, I don't want to keep giving the same example, like car, aficionados or something like that. But I've had so many people on eBay write me back and going, thank you for keeping that catalog because my son and I are restoring this car, and we couldn't figure out how to put this one part together. We had the parts, but it made no sense to us. But by having this document that showed diagrams and layers of information, we kind of put 2 and 2 together, or just some of them, they want it for the prosperity of just like, I have this, and look, I have all the stuff that was like when you originally bought this Mustang or whatever it is. But it goes beyond like cars, like pop culture is really, I think it was one of the reasons like ephemera like kind of has a different take. Because from the 50s and 40s, there's like baseball cards you see out there. And so with pop culture, the celebrity was a Roman colossal kind of like figures of what we have in the sports world in our arena. It goes beyond that. It was a collection of information having ephemera because at the time of the turn of the century, from the 1800s to the 1900s, people always had to like hand down written cards. And here it was. But all of a sudden we have more books and more books on cookbooks. Or just cooking information. And so, it just goes on and on.
Hey, let me show you that. Speaking of cooking, I have this to show.
Can I put you on big screen, may I?
Yeah, get Simply Dana off there.
Oh yeah, let me see.
Just click on it again, the same.
And then I'll click.
There you go. Now just click on me.
Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, here we go.
Big, big, big. Yeah, not that I'm big enough, but here I am there.
Got her halo.
I'll show you. This one is an old cookbook. And that's what reminded me when you said cookbook.
Look at the binding on it too. You
see
this?
Not
standard binding. That's a staple binding.
Nope, that's glued.
It is glued because sometimes, some of them did still use that type of binding where they do have a staple.
Right. Well, I think this was even before staples. There's a date on this here. I don't know if y'all can see that date.
They were some, but yeah, maybe not as prevalent, but they would put those spines on it. when I see, not all of them, like you said, this is probably a perfectly glued one, but
You
having
can see.
like that was to keep the ends from, what do you call it, tasseling or tethering, or there's a term.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah. But that's what this is, a very old cookbook.
Mm-hmm. What's the oldest cookbook you found? Do you remember?
I'm sorry?
What's the oldest cookbook that you have found?
Probably this one and this one.
Okay.
These are the two oldest.
Oh, that's a beautiful one. Look at that. And it's got the wonderful graphics. And this is what I'm talking about in terms of pop culture. It was very important for them to, is that like Elsie the cow or whatever it was? It was for milk.
Yeah.
You know, it was
You
like the
can,
early
like you said, you can tell about the graphics.
Mm-hmm.
Graphics alone.
Oh, Nux. Yeah.
I wonder if there's a date on this. There should be. I think it's still the 1900s.
Okay.
1924. I don't know if you can see it.
Most excellent. Yeah. And so that being said, like with Ephemera, it's very important to, like, you know, keep certain earlier editions clean as possible. Now, not that, you know, not every book's going to be worth anything, but
yeah, this one I actually did get out of the house. I just did. That was full of dirt and mold and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
So this is not in good shape, but even in good shape, these aren't really, they don't go for a lot of money. They're not real valuable, but it's something I'd want to keep. Why would you want to get rid of something that, you know, that's history right there. That's history. You know?
It's that, but you know what? Let's balance it out, because we are talking about it from a reseller's perspective to some extent.
Right.
I enjoy the history of it. So as a reseller, I look at it as, why let that be in our landfill? There's a lot of people out there that are like into t-shirt collecting and clothes, and some of it, their philosophy. So really, do you have a philosophy? And when I say that, as a reseller, what is your intentions for reselling? Some people are just purely making money.
Just
now,
for money, yeah. Some people, I was going to say that.
They may think it's nice and it's, oh, that's a great cookbook, but Trish, that's not going to make me any money, and they'll throw it in the fire. And unfortunately, you know,
that's what happens. Yeah.
Yeah, it does happen more often, or just said not taking care of it. And when I say taking, you're not a steward of what these items are worth. But let's tomorrow, all of a sudden, something about that brand, let's say, and it doesn't have to be Knox brand, but whatever that you had, and you let it go, you give it away to the Goodwill, or you give it away to whatever, or you just don't take care of it and it's being chewed up by rats or water damaged. Mm-hmm. My point is you look at that. Have you ever had an object and you go, you know, it's not worth that much or whatever? You care about it or you don't care about it. It's nice, but you let it go. In the short term later, maybe a year or something like that, all of a sudden its value just increased. You know what I mean? So that's the thing, is it's fleeting. With the ephemera, and there's more irony there. It's like ephemera is not permanent, but it's not the market. When something is, you know, considered valuable, you know, the markets can fluctuate. All of a sudden, like I bought, okay, can I give an example? And I'll make this short and sweet. Was about 3 months ago, I found my first cookbook that was Luby's, is a cafeteria. I don't know if it's mostly the Southern thing, but it's like it's a restaurant, cafeteria restaurant. You go up, you pick what you want, and you pay for a good portion of it. I had this 50th anniversary, and it was one of those, remember those cookbooks with the little spiral end on it? You know, this thing, I looked it up, and it was worth, there were some that were selling for 150, and then somehow the market was fluctuating where they got flooded a little bit, and everybody was able to sell for 75 to 100 bucks. I let mine go. I got about in between that. I got closest to 100 as I could. I thought, wow. Just about 4 weeks ago, I found another one, listed it, and the buyer was in awe. This is on a piece of something that was just, it could have easily been damaged. And I went into this thrift shop and I went, oh, I sold that. Groom, you know, using my, you know.
You remember, right.
Yeah, and that's where, like, being an ephemera collector, you know, I'm not saying, but books for me are like one of my top-notch things. And we're going to get into like other examples. But this cookbook sold, this buyer was all in almost $150. Can you believe it?
Yeah, I do.
2 weeks later.
I was going to say too, and it's going to depend on the item that you toss or throw away, and a year later you find out, oh, that was kind of valuable. It's valuable to who wants it, not to everybody.
Not even a week later, Trish. Not even a week later, I was reading Wall Street Journal, and and funny is I was reading it on digitally instead of reading the newspaper.
Yeah.
I'm reading this and it went, Luby's is going out of business. They're declaring.
Well, you know what the price of that went.
I went in there. There was 4 of them sold for $250.
Yeah, double. So, but you don't know these things. You mean,
well,
you know.
that's it. If your consciousness and your awareness and you're being mindful of how, in retrospect of like this, if you can do something long tail, I think ephemera is the best way to do it.
It's gonna be there.
If you got a way to store it, and ephemera doesn't have to take a lot of room, and maybe in about a week or two, let's talk about why, as a reseller, it's important for us to consider collecting ephemera, because there are a lot of collectors out there, and I've made a small stack like this for like a few $100s, selling to $5,000.
And it's a good point you make. Later on, we're going to discuss, not today, but another time, is storing it. That's important. Which way to store, how to store certain things.
Yeah,
that's important. Hey, Texas Treasures just jumped in the house. Swamp Picker Glenn, I see, jumped in the house. A couple new people. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you guys for coming in. Appreciate y'all. We got a good little dozen here, and let's keep our talk here going. And then as you see new people, just stop me. And Chris, thank you guys. If you see other people here, just welcome them in and invite. And you guys, did we skip any questions? If you did, repost it. Forgive us, because Trish.
Nope, I didn't see any questions.
Okay. Does anybody? Let me stop here real quick, if I may, Trish. Does anybody remember the first time they considered like looking at ephemera? Because it looks like when we asked earlier, it looks like the majority of the chat. And if there's some of you that just came in and you're not that familiar with ephemera, don't be afraid to talk about it, because this is what this is all about. We want to share this nature. We're doing it as a live, but it's going to be saved, so you can watch it back at a later time. But really, it's just a dialogue. It's not like.
Well, when I was first starting giving the ephemera away, there was a few people that even asked me, "What is that? I don't know what that even means." And then there was a couple people that said, "Well, I know what it is. That's postcards." And that was it. That's postcards.
It's not only postcards.
There you go.
Let's talk about it. Let's go from there, Trish. Let's talk about. How about this? Well, to kind of keep us on track. And by the way, I want to see where we are. And we're already half an hour into this, by the way. So
already it's going by too fast.
It's going by fast. Give me. You want to give me 3 to 5 examples of that?
Yeah. Can I show you I'm going to show you some pictures, and I'm going to show you some of the stuff I have. Can I pull that up?
Pop that screen up? Okay.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say is part of that is show us what may not be normally considered your average understanding of ephemera. Just right now, just give me 2 off the top of your head, aside from the postcards, that you always hear that is, yeah, that's ephemera. Like,
one thing is books. I know. Excuse me.
So we got books. You mentioned cards.
A lot of people don't think of books as ephemera.
But but the initial books that were being made, it's hard to say. Basically, the word book, like you ever hear the word folio? Folio means it's folded.
Yeah.
And it's folded in 2. Some of the earliest, works out there were, if you go back in history, some of the first forms of books or printed text, and that is ephemera, were made on what they call papyrus. So
get Simply Dana off there and get you big. We got to see that close up.
Here we go.
And hey, Penny Day's in the house. Penny Day's an expert on ephemera.
So we have here this is just showing you the edge of it. This is an actual piece of papyrus. It's made on papyrus. I don't know if you can, let me put the light up on this to see if we can get a little bit more here.
Yeah, that looks real good, Louie. It's looking good.
Is that better? And you can see it come across. Now, as I pull it off and hold it up in the light, you can see the transparency in this. So early books had actual prints added after the fact, like as early as the 1800s or whatnot. This is not an original. Well, actually, Queen Cleopatra, she sent to me this but it's a reproduction. But it happens to be on papyrus. Now, that is actually the earliest forms of ephemera that were like to date. Like when you talk about ephemera, what is the oldest books? What is the oldest text you've written on? And I'm going to get this light off my face, and we're going to go back with Nana here. And, I would say, can I just jump in real quick? And I'm going to say 2 other things is people think, oh, yeah, postcards, this. One I hear a lot of is, oh yeah, ephemera. I collect a lot of photographs. Oh, that's good.
Photographs.
And I think it's an important one, but it's actually a common one. Sometimes we mention it, sometimes we don't, but and
No, I
sometimes,
would say those are probably the two most common, postcard and photographs.
I think, like you said, books.
Yeah,
In books, stamps is a good one that was in our thumbnail. Yeah.
You showed me that photograph you have. Show me some of those photographs you have.
Oh, okay. So speaking of thank you for reminding me. So I'll go back. Some of these are what they call early Hollywood, and there's a lot of collectors around them. But like Trish made a good point. We were talking about this in private, and part of that was, put this up here. Like this is a movie print. It's actually not it's like a photograph of a photograph, but it's not signed. But these are things that Hollywood or stage production would use, you know, and you get them, and then sometimes the artist or the actor would sign them. But that's, you know, and it's, I put mine in, by the way, if you're a ephemera collector, think about getting plastic and think about getting cardboard. Like if you're collecting comic books or baseball cards, also ephemera, which I was going to get to. And here's another one, you know, but this is a funny one. This is a signed one. And it's you guys remember Bonanza?
Yeah, Glenn in the chat said Lauren Green. He's right. That's who that was, Lauren Green.
This is not real signatures. They're what we call pictures of paintings or pictures of actual autographs. But here's some real, and I'm sorry about the light, but that's Shelley Winters. And if you look real close, she actually signed it in, I'm going the wrong way.
There you go. Got it.
Shelley Winters, you can see that. I have some other actresses in there. You know, I'm not trying to show you like the most valuable examples, but I'm showing you, but actually the last one is Shelley Winters. Believe it or not, in terms of market, it's not worth a lot because she saturated the market. Let me take this off here real quick. I found out, come to read, not just her, but a lot of celebrities saturated the markets. Like soon as a fan wrote them, they were obligated by Paramount Pictures or whatever the company they were working with, and they had to send out these things. So when a market becomes saturated, whether it's pop culture,
whatever it is, yeah,
car marketing, toy marketing, whatever it is, Life magazines was like a saturated commonality. You can go to any garage sale and almost always find magazines for sale. Now, are they worth collecting?
Yeah. That depends.
It's
if it were me, yeah, I would collect anything, but that's just me. But a good example is, like you said, if something is saturated, the market becomes saturated with one item, even though it becomes ephemera. If there's still a lot of it, it's not as valuable. That's only common sense. But if something is gone, like Life magazine, boy, there's some really good pictures and front page information, like first step on the moon or whatever on Life magazine. Yeah. That's
so
valuable.
History has a good influence on the
there
market.
You go.
The understanding or just even the significance of, and when I say significance, it's just what's significant to you. Maybe like, I really don't care about that, but down the line, like we said, you know, like that cookbook, as soon as it went out of like, you know, whatever the item was, like as soon as something comes to a end of the fruition of its popularity, people do what? They gravitate towards like nostalgia. I gotta have that. I gotta have that. Ephemera is like one of the, how would you put it, Trish? Like it's one of those like, when you talk about nostalgia, I often equate it with the relationship of ephemera. Like a photograph, you look at it and you're like, oh yeah.
It just takes you back. It's like, wow, that time, that era.
That's yeah. And there's been notions about that. But then when the family passes away or this or that, all of a sudden it just kind of drifts back into this like world of like non-existence. So
of days gone by. I like what I'm sorry if I'm going to pronounce this wrong. Alta. I'm not sure how to pronounce that, but yes, where she says that the advertising in the magazines, absolutely. Some people love to collect those magazines just for the advertisements. Because if you think about it, well, me being a woman, the first thing I think of is look at the old washing machine. If you look at an old magazine and the ad in there, those ads, they're awesome because you think what they had to use back then compared to what's happening now. What a difference. So
There
yeah.
was like this weird trend I remember when I was a little younger. Maybe it was back in the 80s or 90s, but like Coca-Cola, like, you know, let's just say this, like when something hits an anniversary or something like that, people tend to do what? So if you have a birthday or a celebration of it, people celebrate. Well, when companies do that, and companies happen to exist based on the sales and marketing, and that is really an extension of, like, you know, printing ephemera, printing documentation, and, you know, in this fleeting age of like, how do we keep everything together? How is ephemera going to exist in the future?
In the future, yeah, that's going to be crazy. Simply Dana has a question.
Yeah. Here we go. Hi, Dana. So question, the older, the better. But how old is considered vintage when you are referring to ephemera? Is it 20 years? So thank you for asking that question. So Trish, do you want to answer that? Because I know that I have my answer on it. So.
That's a good question. In my opinion, yes, it's saying 20 years vintage. That's ephemera. The older, the better. Ephemera.
Another aspect of that, Dana and Trish, is this is what I've talked to about in the reselling community, and more specifically, what I rely on, and also to help refine the definition, is that vintage has to be at least 20 years or more to be considered vintage. Now, to be considered an antique. You know, there's antique, you know, out there, like antique books. There's ephemera out there that is considered antique. A collection. Let's say a collector has a room full of this specific subject that he collected or she collected. You know, it's not considered antique until it's 100 years old. So vintage and antique are not the same, you know. And so that's good. Thank you for asking that, Dana. You know.
Good question.
House. Let me say hi real quick, and then yeah, Texas Treasure says I have 1950 Coca-Cola ads. There was a big reoccurrence about like 25 years after that. So in 75 on up, I remember Coca-Cola was like a major fad. Hey, Derek, thank you for coming.
Hello.
Derek is wonderful. If you haven't seen him, you guys, subscribe to him. He's got a wonderful show on Wednesday. Him and his he has a co-host by the name of Regina Michelle. So thank you, Derek. That's Fundamentals of Side Hustling. Go check him out. So I love, oh yeah, and she says like the old
Santa ads.
Some of these are familiar, but that's the trigger point. Like when I said, one thing to talk about ephemera, but it's another thing to add. When ephemera was being marketed in a way, like ephemera was really important, probably since like the turn of the 20th century into like probably about maybe 50 years ago, you know, at its peak, is that then they would play off your nostalgia. They would play off your favoritism. They would play off of, you know, what things were considered pop culture. And they would play off of like your psychology and your emotions if they can get you to like something like Coca-Cola.
Yeah. Coca-Cola was excellent for that. And that was huge. Like you said, about 20 years ago, that skyrocketed. That bombed. Anything and everything that had Coca-Cola on it was sought out. I mean, everybody wanted it.
You also see it kind of plummet at
one point. And it's not as valuable now.
But I think its value is not necessarily in a monetary sense. The value, like the person that treasures it, like your name, Nana Tink Treasures. You know, it's like, what do you treasure? Well, what is your intentions for collecting? Is it, you know, a nostalgic thing, or do you have a respect for history? Is it an enrichment? You know, like depending on what you're collecting. Like if you're talking about history, there's so many multifaceted aspects of history and culture. We got different social, you know, realms that we can talk about. We got political realms. We got, you know, different, just the list goes on. You know, we can talk about different things, you know, and then depending on the area you're talking about too, you know.
Mike Newsom in the house.
Oh yeah, Mike Newsom. I think he was here earlier, wasn't he? But if not, Mike, welcome. Thank you. Yeah, brochures, manuals. Okay, this is good. This is a good segue. Thank you for bringing that up, Mike. Nana's got a little bit of a slideshow kind of thing. We're gonna well, maybe because we're cutting short on time.
Yeah, let me show that. I'm gonna try to share my screen. It's just
let me know when you have it. I'll project it for you. But let me go back and read Mike's thing while you're doing that, Trish. Brochures, manuals, and manufacturing paper advertisements, maps, etc., holiday cards, and whatnot. So that's good you mentioned that, Mike. So example, I had one thing I was showing Nana, like if you're a sports fan, you know, this is not necessarily sports, but I'm a Mets fan. but it was put out by Newsday. And Newsday, this is back in 2000. I think they were going to the World Series, or they were on the way up there, and they would basically, you'd see these all over New York City, and these things, you'd find them on the ground, and you'd see people holding them up, you know, during parades and stuff like that. That's a good example. Oh, you ready to be projected?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, let me stop the yapping. And here,
yeah, get him off of there.
Oh, sorry about that.
Like that. That's okay.
Here we go.
Okay, can everybody see that?
This is something that Mike was talking about. Carry away, Trish.
That's the automobile literature, printed materials promoting, explaining the evolving design of cars. That's exactly what he was saying. They were promoting that back then, what the car is, and explaining how it continues on. Let me go to the next one.
And that's a little bit what we
the advertisement.
Earlier, it's like, you know, and cars, you know, are something that's not going to go away right away until we get into spaceships. So.
Oh yeah, true. But advertisements, notice our announcement in a public medium promoting a product, service, or event, or publicizing a job vacancy. Early newspaper advertisements were all text. Mm-hmm. Some newspaper ads began to include small stock wood engraved illustrations to attract the eye. And after a while, these began to be custom created and increasingly larger. Later, the magazines and color printing, of course, the bold, the graphics, the color advertising exploded in all media.
Nice.
So
what did you exploded in all media? So
well, let me show these two things that I got. These make me big.
Okay.
Bigger.
Oh, sorry. Let me see here. Oh, I just did it. Is that what you want? You want to go back to you, right?
With me, yeah. Just I'm going to show these. These are two things that I have about the airplanes. This is Pan Am. Now, this is ephemera, and not only because it's old and collectible, but people that just say collect airplanes. There you go. People that may collect something that doesn't exist anymore. Pan Am. There you go. And it's old. And
books.
And that's when you're talking about not just the booklet, but maybe just the pictures, maybe a map, maybe the information. Yeah. Anything in here could be one thing that somebody collects. Mm-hmm. Just one. This is from 68, and that is dated 68.
Another aspect that you mentioned, I just want to just real quick and interject is, you know, it could be all and above of those things, but like somebody who just, like you said, is into aerospace or whatever, this and that. But you know, the biggest collectors of ephemera I found, just in my experience as a reseller, more often than not, it's artists.
Artists. Yeah.
We had a term when I went to go get my master's degree, and that was, I had a professor that says, we're going to have you do a morgue file. And I said, what is a morgue file? And he threw everybody down. He threw this giant big box that had a lid on it, and it had a little filing system in it. And I said, what the heck is that? And he's, you know, it was a cardboard box. He says, you're now responsible for filling that box up in 2 months. And it said, okay. A morgue file was, depending on what your subject or what you're drawing, you would go out and research it. You would rip stuff out of books, magazines, you'd collect, you know, and now these days you pretty much collect everything online, maybe print it if you need to, but
right. And that's what that is right there. So that's interesting. And when you talk about books and talking about parts of it, even the cover, some people, like you said, the spine pages, millions of them. And when you look at the artwork in it, it's endless ideas for creating collections. Somebody that collects art, somebody that collects whatever out of a book, they'll take the book. But then again, they can always be read. You can always read them.
What do you got next for us? What's under the next thing?
Architect. Those interested in architect and buildings have.
Let's go to that.
You see that, right?
No, I don't. We're still in Lafayette.
You see the architect?
No, I only see the automobile. It's not scrolling yet.
Not scrolling. Okay.
I'm going to remove. Let me remove it and put it back in. Okay.
I got it.
Oh, there it goes. Now it's going.
Now it's scrolling.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's books.
You see it?
Can you see it?
Yeah, we sure do now. There we go.
Books, spine page, million that were endless, and they can be read. Look at that. Look at the graphics in there. Like you said, the artist. Then there's the architect.
Did you know that in some of the earlier books, they had to print the plates of the artwork separate? Like, yes. I'm trying to remember that one artist very famous for doing artwork of all the birds. What was his name? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, Audubon. You're talking about
Audubon.
Audubon. Yeah.
There would be an academic part of it, which was the text and the literature, but then he would add the plates in there, and they could be removed so you can frame them, because they're what they call lithography. They were actual lithoprints, such as architecture did that too.
Architects, those interested in architects and buildings have numerous sorts of related ephemera to pursue. They there again, the photographs, the blueprints and the plans, postcards, magazines, trade, all of that, brochures, all of that for
all
architects.
the documentation that went behind. Like somebody like maybe you guys don't know this in the chat, but I'm sure everybody's heard of Frank Lloyd Wright, one of the most American. One of the most important American architects around there. If you have anything that's Frank Lloyd Wright, even just modern day books, they go for a general good bit of
good amount of money. Yeah, Frank Lloyd Wright.
Not just the pop culture stuff you buy at a museum, gift shop. I'm talking about like his original letters. He did art drawings. He did, just so much that it was circled around instead of just automobiles, it was circling around the nice subject that Trish brought up, which was architectural,
Yeah. And this is the last one I have, guys. This is celluloid, which this is something that's different. This is very off the wall and probably you'd never think of as ephemera, but celluloid, it's made from, and I can't say that very good, nitrocellulose and camphor. It was the first thermoplastic. It was registered 1870, expensive and highly flammable, but was used in a variety of products for printing or still engraved pieces of ephemera. Nowadays, it's found mostly in ping pong balls and guitar picks.
The earlier versions of that, I'm thinking more and more, I'm not going to doubt myself, but I'm pretty sure that the earlier versions of that, Trish, there's and maybe somebody in the chat can hone in on this. Next time I'll bring the name. But there's this gentleman that made a version of celluloid that was used for film in the very, very, very initial stages of film. And the reason that all his body of work, all his earlier films can never be watched again because they all burnt up. Like you said, those are highly flammable.
That's silent, yeah.
Position and whatnot. But they did variations of it, and like I think, like you're saying, it became plastic for different purposes and whatnot.
Right. And yeah, let me show you what I have.
I'm going to put you up on the big screen here. Is that okay?
I love it. Yes. Hey, Gary. Hi, buddy. But this is some piece. You never think this is ephemera, guys.
But it's
this is that celluloid.
It can very much deteriorate, right? In light, heat.
And these are just the different color options from back in the day. People would go through. This is just a sample, the sampler. But that's an example of ephemera. Somebody will be collecting that. Now, this is actually a nice one. This is pretty cool. This would be, say, from countertops. You would go and you would pick which countertop you'd like. But it has the advertisements on them. People collect advertising from different businesses. They're all on there. So this is just another piece of a sampler. And the last one is Marlite. This is another. Nice. This is a perfect. This is so small.
And it's in
a lot of people format. Like small pieces.
Technically, that's a book format, Yeah. Wow.
And that's all. That's just the different samples of the colors and what the Marlite looks like.
Well, while you're showing that, continue to show that if you like. I'm just going to say hi real quick. I got Janet Ortega. Thank you for coming. We had Westside pop in. Joe, the Philly Pickers here. Swamp Picker.
Joe.
Here, Mike Newsome. Dana's been in here, keeping everybody happy.
And Nick Pick Thrift. Hello, Nikki.
I was going to say, there she is. There's Miss Nikki. Thank you guys for hanging out today. We appreciate it. We know it's a Sunday, and it's like you got better things to do and watch football. But
watch me.
But we get to visit. We get Trish time here. So. Did you have something else you want to show up real quick?
Real quick, when you're talking about books, believe it or not, guys, this is old. This is, you'll never know and guess what this is. Maybe you will now. You see all the signatures?
Is that called a yearbook?
This is a yearbook, guys. Believe it or not, this is ephemera, and not only ephemera, but very collectible. I've already sold 2 of these on eBay. Yeah.
I can't sell mine to save my life. Hardly.
With signatures in them, with autographs. So any old yearbooks, Yeah, that's a good thing.
Well, I will say this much about that.
Yeah, tell me about why would anybody want to collect these?
Okay, remember what we were talking about? Or are you asking alive?
Because I don't
Okay, real
know.
quick, you guys, give a 1. Do you think it's about nostalgia? And or do you think it's about just a sense of like having something they didn't have? So like it's like a FOMO, fear of missing out, you know, or maybe thinking that it was somebody else that they knew or something. Or maybe they lost. Is that just a replacement? Or do you think it's really about the nostalgia? Guys, give a 1 for nostalgia, a 2 for fear of missing out, and just like replacing something. What do you guys think in terms of having?
Yeah, and they knew what it was. Look at that. Simply Dana said yearbook. Glenn said yearbook. How do you price yearbooks? You know how I priced it? I went online and I looked and tried to find kind of similar, and that's how I priced it. Because I didn't know. I thought, well, I'm just going to wing it and just give it a whirl. So I looked it up and I'm like, wow, they are selling. So I put up, well, actually my own. I sold my own. And guess where it went to? Australia.
Really?
Australia.
You went to Australia.
My own high school yearbook. Well, I have 4 of my own.
I've sold yearbooks, but can I tell you something? For me, because I'm in the state of Texas, every state of Texas yearbook, especially because we have like alma maters that are like big in the football world, University of Texas, Texas A&M, the Aggies, which is sell all the time. I will sell them and I'll make 20 bucks. They're long tail, but you get the right person, you know. I've sold one.
That's it. You got to get the right person. That's what it. A lot of people, they're saying 2, 2, 2, 2. So yeah.
A fear of missing out kind of thing. Oh, you're right. You know what? I'm on the StreamYard thing and I'm running behind. It's not showing. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I think I said 2. So it's not so much nostalgia, it's just more of like replacing something they may have lost or something. So
but look at what Glenn says. Glenn says he sold one to the UK because who was in there?
Oh,
That could be. There you go. Right there's a good point too.
Yeah, I did. You know what? Somebody very famous and a very statesman, like an important statesman in the political world, they were in that. So that goes to show you got pulp culture, you got a rich, deep underlying history that are kept, and we store information mostly in books to this day. Unfortunately, yes. This day and age with Nooks and Amazon,
they don't exist.
They're declining.
Well, yeah, I should say that they're declining. Penny Day said it too.
I'm gonna the day I die, Nana, I'm never gonna give up books. I'm a bookophile. I love books. I will never give them up. And
yeah, I do too.
Because when the solar flares come on and all our computers,
those books,
we'll have a book.
They're all books.
Can I show a couple things real quick? And
sure.
Give you a check-in time. We are at 4:25, so we can go on just a little longer if you're comfortable. But we can call it quits. But let me just give a quick couple examples, if I may. I'll make it short and sweet.
Yeah, make yourself big and take Simply Dana off there.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
We love Nana. I love you, too. I love you all.
Famous people. There you go.
Is money. Yes, Glenn.
People love to walk back in time. Yeah, looking at vintage yearbooks and this and that. Okay, where that was about the yearbooks. Thank you. Speaking of the yearbooks, when you don't have yearbooks, you have... This is a gentleman by the name of Daniel Johnson. Now, this was just one. I put 2 things in this little holder. This is just a simple advertisement. This guy just died not too long ago, but you may have seen this image, and it was popular for a while on T-shirts, and I think even like an album came up. But this,
yes, I remember that image.
Yeah, and it's actually the original of this was spray painted by him and on a certain wall, and people come up to, from like tourists will come up and take pictures of him, stuff like that. But something like this, believe it or not, I've sold it as much as like close to $20, but like bigger formats of it and stuff. And if you had one with his autograph, this artist, he's a musician, an artist, and they made a movie about him. Then there was this. He actually had an art show that was it was a play. Excuse me, it was a theater play about him. So when you find collectors, I think this would be a good segue to kind of almost get close to ending it here. What do you think, Trish? Is that next week we'll talk about them? Today was kind of like ephemera. What about it?
What is it exactly? Right.
Yeah, like what about it? What is it? Tell me more. But maybe next time
we can lose you.
What is the importance? Oh, I'm sorry. What? Am I there? Can you hear me?
Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, now, yeah, you were gone. You were cycling.
Oh, okay. Maybe it was my internet. But so comic books are something that's really good. Once again, we'll get into next time about conservation and how important it is. Back to photographs. Never neglect it. If you're a reseller and you can find the right one, I find people collect photographs based on ethnicity, believe it or not. They collect it based on architecture. They collect it based on historical landmarks. Sometimes they collect automobiles. Sometimes they just collect animals and stuff or landscapes. So just depending on what your collector, and if you know your market, you can make money off of that. We were going to talk about this next time, like the, what's the word, dilapidation, whatever, just the,
yeah, dilapidation. That's a good word.
Is the impermanence, and that's the whole thing about ephemera. Means like there's an impermanence to it. Is it's not meant to last. But you see how this is like gray and brown. There's tape marks here. Acidity is one of the biggest dangers of that. That's why I put things in plastic. But an artist may come by and I'll bring this to a flea market. What do you want for that? Give me a couple bucks. I didn't pay anything for it. I found it, and you have like 20 items that somebody goes, oh, that's cute. I want it. I want to collect it. You make money. I've sold ephemeras like in the thousands in the past. If you got albums, the covers, LPs are like major ephemera. Now, depending on the edition, this was a poster for the back of an album. And guess who it was of? Let's see. Can we get a good picture of that? We got Simon and Garfunkel. And look at the colors in that of this right there. Like, this is just
beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah. You got little artist signatures. You got, everybody knows this song, whether you know it or not, the 59th Street Bridge song, whatever. But so those are just some examples. Thank you guys for letting us share. Let me get off of this big screen. Nana, what else do you have to say on this today?
The Driftless Thrifter. Hi, thank you for being in here. Hello. Saying, yeah, she's never been able to sell yearbooks, but I've only tried to sell super old one. The one I sold was, well, I consider super old because it was mine and I'm really, really old. So there again, if it's not a big thing, put it up, put it away, know where you put it, and forget it. And eventually, I bet you it'll sell.
Yeah, okay. So that being said, what Trish said, it may be long tail, but let me tell you something. There are websites out there. Now, there's a pro and a con. We were talking about technology is kind of maybe the death of actual paperwork, and having more and more like books being gone away and things that are, advertisements are now all digital and everything's kind of digitally received. We digest our information differently is what I'm trying to say in a historical fashion. We used to read books. We used to read posters. We used to look at postcards. We used to look at photographs. We took in our impressions, daily life, in a whole different way than we do now. Right, Trish? What do you think?
Absolutely, yeah.
Digitally, what do you think that's doing?
Oh, the 40s. Well, no, I'm not that old. But she said they were from the 40s. Well, they're, like he said, I wouldn't give up. I would still try. You just don't know till you get,
Yeah. Let me, I just cut back here. So we got, And then
what did Mike say? People love to walk back in time looking at vintage yearbooks. Some are looking for books that they lost that was about their school. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah. Oh, I never thought of it. Yeah, those albums. You mentioned that, Louie. You said about the albums before you were showing your picture. That's true. Album covers. They sell so good. You know why? Because people put them on the wall. They don't even care if there's a record in them or not. If it's got the graphics.
They even have frames built for albums.
They have frames for them, and put them up. Absolutely.
Not only that, it's like, remember we were talking about cycles? There's collections of cycles. All of a sudden, LPs are so much more because in some ways I consider LPs an aspect of ephemera because you got the printed label on top of it. It's like that plastic you were talking about. Albums will warp. Albums will deteriorate. Albums can crack. Albums contain information like a book. That being said, did you know that albums, in terms of sounds, according to musicians, say that analog sound is so much more clear?
Oh, yeah, it's so much. Absolutely, yeah.
Than digital.
Yep.
Here we go again. Is ephemera going to go away in permanent? We're going to talk about that in our next few shows. It's going to come up again. And how does that affect the market as us resellers? Why do we care about it? What aspect of the history is really imperative that you not only know, it's probably in your best interest just because as a reseller, do you want to learn something new every day? Do you find a different aspect of this? Because there's so many different parts of ephemera. You don't have to like that category or on that topic of ephemera, but you might like this category, and then you kind of go, I have respect for it all now, you know?
Yeah, that's true. You get one little, it's like anything gets in your blood just a little bit, and then and you learn a little bit. And then before you know it, it's like, oh yeah, and you'll be shopping, looking around, and you're going to be like,
you want to share that. Like, I can think of all aspects like what we were talking about today. You know, albums, you get music junkies. Oh, I got to share this music with you. Or did you know this poet documented all his books onto an album cover or whatever, you know, and it goes on and on and on, you know.
And Janet asked questions. Oh yeah, scrapbooks. Yeah, boy, that's a good one.
Somebody said that they didn't think of, who said it earlier? They didn't think of an album being a retainer for ephemera. People, that's how they would collect it, you know. Scrapbooks, whatever.
Scrapbooks.
Photograph books, just knickknacks on subject matters, you know. What else do we have in here? Oh, is it this one? Oh, you're sweet. Oh, that's so sweet. She said,
oh, Nikki, you're so sweet.
You notice she didn't say that about me.
I appreciate you, sweetheart.
Isn't she wonderful? Oh, it says, hey,
who's in a disaster? They want to replace it. Good point. You know why? Because if you have memories or something that they can go back to and they've lost it in a disaster, yeah, they'll look for it because they want to replace to get that memory back. I mean, memories are in your mind and in your heart, but it's good to have the touch. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Have you ever seen the documentation by Ken Burns on Civil War?
More from an auction I bought some. I'm sorry, I was reading what?
Okay. No. Oh, yeah. I found that interesting. She says, I bought some
more from an auction for Lake Kate. Yeah, that's it. That's cool.
9. Wow. No, I was just saying, like, you know, another example, like, you know, the history aspect of it was there was a filmmaker by the name of Ken Burns?
She meant ephemera. She bought some ephemera from an auction.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Ephemera. And but Ken Burns, he did that documentary. He said he could not do the documentary if it were not for aspects of ephemera.
Yeah.
All that was everybody was like, I don't want to watch a documentary but what it was brought to life by the verbiage of reading letters by an actor that made it really entertaining. If those letters didn't exist and those photographs, they would have these photographs, they would pan in and pan out. It brought it back to life. But then again, how do you bring something back to life if you don't have the nostalgic aspect?
That's what I was going to say. If he didn't have that ephemera, he wouldn't have been able to do that. Period.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, Iris Collins says, sneaks into
the room. You're late, Iris, but thank you for being here. Yeah.
She was up late with me last night. We were doing talking, you know.
Well, if you're up late with that guy, then that's excusable.
I'm ready for a nap. Well, I don't know. Do you think we should come here, cut it close? Do you have anything that you really felt like you want to just kind of sum it up with?
Yeah, that I think we covered a lot for the first time, more than I thought we were gonna, but we got so much more we could say. So yeah, you got to come back next Sunday. Nikki wants to know how do you spell that, ephemera?
Yeah, let me type it in the post.
I'll type it in.
I'll type it in.
Diggs. Hey.
It's on our thumbnail, you guys. Look it up, and I would explore the root of the word, and you're gonna go, what? It's really a fun term that if you're not that familiar with it, have fun with it. I just typed it in and it didn't show up. I lost it. What happened? Oh, there it is. Here we go. You know what? It takes so long once it's in
It's just the lag between the YouTube and StreamYard.
And I don't know why, but I had the hardest time looking at that word for longer because ephemera, you know, is the F sound, but it's PH. So ephemera, which derives from the word ephemeral. I should look that up right now and give
you should type that in there too, and they could look that up. We'll give them some homework. Louie's going to type this word in. Go look it up, see what it means. See if you see, yeah.
So we got the word ephemera comes from the word
ephemeral.
And here it is. I'm pasting it, and I think I'm doing it. Let's hear it is. Look up this word, and I will give the definition. So, and this is the phonetic spelling. So take out the hyphens, and you'll see it there. And ephemeral. And here's the definition I'll give you. It just says lasting for a very short time. But if you talk about ephemera, it's going to be more paper related. But like, or an ephemeral plant. Plants are considered ephemeral, you know, because they are here for a moment and then they die, like a leaf.
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I think that was good, Lou. I think we did good. I hope everybody enjoyed that. And come back next week, same time. And going to do it on my channel next week.
Yeah, be sure you guys, we're going to take turns. So thank you for coming to our channel, my channel today, and sharing this time. You know, our time in sharing this was just a delight. And, you know, I wanted to say something real quick. And you guys, I hope you can pay attention to live. I feel really flattered and honored that Trish took me serious, because I want you guys to know that I really do care about this community. I don't know if you know this. I come from an academic background. I used to be an instructor. I have an arts background. I have a passion for reselling, but as an artist, I'm learning to combine the two. And I think, you know, what better way is to find like-minded people, you know, like this person here, who really takes things serious. And I've listened to her in chats. And when I heard her talking about ephemera, I was like, I gotta get this gal. I mean, she's awesome, you know. And I know a lot of you do have that. And if you guys ever want to do a collaboration or something like that, talk to each other, work with each other, have fun, because the more we spread this knowledge and using this gold nugget mine called YouTube, I think we're going to enrich our community. Don't waste our time, you know, because it's precious. Because if we have information we can share, this is a better way we can document it. So I don't have the paper, you know, to make a book to talk about ephemera, but we can do it video. So we're going to take advantage of technology. We're going to do this next week. Don't forget, it's going to be, guess on whose channel over here. Subscribe to her if you haven't. Somebody, maybe simply Dana, if you could put Nana Tink Treasures link back up, please. And not so much just to subscribe, or make sure you hit the notification bell. And same time next week,
we'll see you back on my channel. It'll be awesome.
And finish us out. Give us some last words, Trish.
Give it what? Nice what?
No, I said give us some last words, because I talk too much.
That was my last words. I'll see you next week, next Sunday, my channel. We're going to talk some more different stuff, show you some more stuff. You don't want to miss it. It'll be fun.
Bye, guys.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you so much. We'll see you next time. Thank you for coming.
Thank